President Bush has talked about our staying in Iraq for 50 years.
Maybe 100. That'd be fine with me,
So
as
that's
long
your
as
policy.
Americans are not being injured or harmed or wounded or killed. Then it's fine with me.
The argument is really almost insulting to one's intelligence to say how long we're in Iraq.
I don't think Americans are concerned if we're there for 100 years or 1,000 years or 10,000 years.
Give us some time for it to succeed. The surge is working. The surge is working, sir.
That's just what
it
I
is
said.
working. No, not apparently. It's working.
Hi, it's Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Wednesday, March 26, 2008. We want to take a moment today to remind everyone of what is unquestionably John McCain's Achilles heel going into November. You've seen the videos, McCain's comfortable staying in Iraq for 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, whatever. Obviously, now that he's got the nomination, he's trying to reposition for the general election. He's tried to pull back some of those remarks, but he's still very clear that he wants to continue President Bush's policies on Iraq 100%. Now, we hear a lot about how people think the surge is working, how they're more optimistic about Iraq than they've been in a long time, but it's really important to keep the public opinion numbers in context. Now, this morning when I got to work, there was a press release about a poll from Harris Interactive about the Iraq War, and the headline was, "America's Feelings Towards Iraq War Best in Months." But as with a lot of these polls, what's really important is to dig in and look at the actual numbers. Let's take a look. Just under 2/3 give the president negative marks for his handling of the war, down from 66% who said so in December. This 32% positive rating is the highest it has been since September of 2006, 18 months ago, when it was also 32%. So let's look at what that actually says. Back in December, 66% of the American people were against the president's policies on Iraq. Now it's down to 63%. It's an improvement, but a pretty minor one, and the big picture is still that the American people are overwhelmingly against the president's management of the Iraq War. Now, how about the surge? While 2 in 5 Americans say that the surge is not working, that number has held very steady since May of last year. What has happened is a rise in those who say the surge is working, from 1 in 10 Americans in May to 2 in 5 in December and 1/4 currently. So again, let's put that in a little perspective. There doesn't seem to be any question that the surge has contributed, at least in part, to the reduction of U.S. military and Iraqi fatalities in the country since mid-last year. The real question is whether it's working in strategic terms, and it seems pretty clear that by that measure, it's not. Still, only 1/4 of Americans think it's working. So only a relatively small percentage of the president's own base thinks the surge is working. So even though we hear a lot less about it in the media today, and even though the popularity of the Iraq War is off some of its extreme lows back in late 2006 and early 2007, you still have the president's policy that is overwhelmingly unpopular in this country, and the Republicans' presidential nominee this November who is 100% behind it. Another point to consider is that in John McCain's recent rise in the polls versus Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, his big jump up has come that he has moved ahead among independent voters. But the thing with independent voters is they are the ones, even more than Democrats, who are the most against the Iraq War. So if Democrats are looking for a way to pry those independent voters back into the Democratic column, this is the way to do it. And there's really no question that the Iraq War remains one of 1 or possibly 2 pivots of the 2008 presidential race. Now, as you know, the Democrats are distracted at the moment in their almost endless primary race, and neither one of them is in a position to be going after John McCain. They have to be hitting at each other right now. But there's still the DNC, there's independent groups, there's a lot of other organizations out there, even 1 or 2 that are sort of in the background now, that have been put together specifically to go against John McCain in this period when the Democrats themselves haven't yet come up with their nominee. So the question you should be asking yourself is, why aren't the Democrats up on the air even today in Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, in swing states around the country, making this very simple point? The Iraq War is overwhelmingly unpopular, and John McCain is 100% behind it. It's well worth considering. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.